2022. We are here to have a meeting over consideration of the special land use for Orion Renewable Energy. And I'm going to call this meeting to order. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to do roll call now. Grove. Here. Monar. Here. Bissett, I'm here. Van Dyke. Holtz. Yes. Rozeski. Yes. Got to move on to approval of the agenda. We're going to be doing does anybody see anything we need to make an adjustment to the agenda for today? No. Is that a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
I just need to know who's speaking.
John
I
Moore.
need make a motion to approve. Thank you.
I get a second?
Okay.
Second by Rozeski. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now we gotta approve the minutes from May 14th meeting. Give you guys a few minutes to go work out them and see if there's any corrections. Everyone fine with the minutes from May 14th meeting? Can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in approving the minutes from May 14th meeting, signify by saying aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, who seconded that? I didn't.
John Monar.
Made the motion. Seconded.
Oh yeah, that was Grove.
Thank you.
Correspondence. We received a MSDS sheet from Orion last week with the details of the solar panels. I just want that in the record, knowing that we got it last week. Anybody else? Let's move on. I don't believe there's going to be any new business today. We're going to get right to the Goodland Solar Farm LLC. Consider the application. We got some questions for Orion, as well as possibly legal. I don't know. We're going to get this going here. All right, who's got questions and who wants to start? Here you go.
Do the scenic views of a property impact the value of the same property? Are we reading them all off, or you guys answer?
No, we can answer them one by one.
Okay.
Makes sense. So can you repeat the question, please?
Do the scenic views of property impact the value of the same property?
All right. I'm going to have, so just so folks are aware, we have all the same experts that were here at the last hearing with us today, and they are all pretty much virtually. So I'm going to call out people to address some of the questions if it's relevant to do so, and they'll be talking to, but they should be able to hear you and respond back in case there are any follow-up questions. So I'm going to have Andrew Lyons. Drew, if you could respond to the first question, let us know if you need to repeat it. Hold on, Drew. Yeah, and it doesn't make sense to have to call. Yeah.
Mike, he's right underneath the speaker. You have to. The speaker's in the ceiling.
Hey, are we?
Yeah.
Questions? Yeah, all right.
Question, John.
Says, do the scenic views of property impact the value of the same property? Well, there's, if you want me to read them all that are all together here, would you expect the views of an identical home on an identical size lot within the same development that enjoys similar views to have a similar property value? Next one is, now if we change the scenario, if we have two identical homes situated on lots of identical size within a few hundred feet of each other, but one property has a beachfront view, the other a home a block away with beach access rights, would they have the same value? Do you think that the rural country view property owners currently enjoy are more or less valuable than the views of the industrial scale solar production facility, specifically an industrial scale energy production facility that consumes over 37% of the land mass of the section that surrounds their home? Are you certain that the analysis of the Cone resident property value study that ORE would be willing to guarantee property owners in 7 sections containing a proposed project, their homes will not see an adverse impact on the value of their property compared to similar properties in the other 29 sectors of Goodland Township? So that's the section on property values.
Drew, did you get all that?
Cannot hear me.
Hold on, Drew. Drew, go ahead. All right.
Yes.
Okay, let's give this another go.
Okay. All right, am I coming in clear? Can everyone hear me?
Yep. Everybody hear it? Okay.
Would you just speak slower because there's a crinkle?
Sure. So thanks for the question. There's a lot going on in that question, so I'll try to do my best to unpack it and give you a fair answer. My understanding is that the homes that we're talking about in the area for proposed are adjacent to an agricultural zone. So they're not next to necessarily a previously made industrial zone. And we're not necessarily asking to change into buildings or have any kind of heavy intense use that typically comes along with a traditional industrial use. So these solar uses are passive. And while there are some steel and some panels out on the land, there aren't people or activities. There aren't a lot of trucks driving around. there aren't any loud noises, and the ground itself still remains unimpervious, right? So water can still get into the soil itself, and the soil can grow fallow over the time of the use. So from a replacer's perspective, the use is not necessarily aligned with an industrial. With regards to whether or not you have two identical homes, one that has the existing rural view and then one that's got the view of panels, all of the data that we've been able to review in the Midwest and specifically in Michigan, both with regards to the Lapeer solar farm, as well as information that we've gotten early on from the development of the assembly plant, indicate that the homes are not selling less than the rest of the market, even though they may have solar, in their backyards or have a property that's adjacent to it. Everyone may have their different interpretation or opinion about what they would prefer to look at when they look at different areas or views from their property. But the reality is that when individuals make decisions to acquire a home, that there are a lot of different priorities that come into play for how much they want to pay for something. And while view may be something that's important to several people or to a lot of people who acquire homes, it may not necessarily have an amount or a value attached to it. And a view of a rural area across private property is very different than somebody's view of a public amenity like the ocean or a specific mountain. And so the market holds those things a little bit differently.
Thanks, Drew. And then there was a question about property value guarantee. And this is something that comes up fairly often in these types of hearings. And I think our position on that is we would push very much against the concept. The reason being, as Drew had outlined, is property values are extremely subjective. And so there are a lot of different factors that go into of what the ultimate value of a home is and what it sells. A lot of it has nothing to do with the project that's adjacent. And so it becomes very difficult from a policy standpoint to figure out a fair and equitable property value guarantee that takes in all the other static that anyone goes into looking at what a value of a home is. And so if you go in 1 year and property values across the country have dropped 10%, that's not going to be a result of the solar project, right? So then how do you take that into account from a year-to-year difference as well? So from our perspective, we do not support a property value guarantee for that reason.
All right. The next thing is health and safety concerns. On page 4 of the decommissioning plan, Kimley Horn prepared for ORE as part of ORE's application for special land use. It reads, according to the Environmental Protection Agency, once a solar panel reaches its usable life, it becomes solid waste and is regulated under the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act. Regulations, RCRA. Solid waste is then classified into a non-hazardous waste or hazardous waste. Solar panels may classify as hazardous waste if they contain hazardous material. Will the panels used in this project contain hazardous material? Do you understand and agree with the findings of the EPA? A solar panel is in good operating conditions that contains hazardous material is not hazardous because it is hermetically sealed and contains these materials which are hazardous. Do you agree? It is a seal of the solar panel that keeps these hazardous material and chemicals from being exposed. Do you agree? As catastrophic events like fire and tornadoes that can compromise these seals. Will a solar panel with a compromised seal from a fire or tornado be considered to have reached its usable life? To your knowledge, have industrial scale energy production facilities ever experienced fires or tornadoes that have rendered solar panels become waste materials? If large scale fire broke out in an industrial scale solar array in which solar panels contain hazardous materials, could the smoke and fumes from fire contain those same hazardous materials? If a tornado rips through an industrial scale solar array in which solar panels contain hazardous material, could the debris from the panels land on the ground? Would the debris contain hazardous materials? Could the debris be cast outside the perimeter of the project onto other properties? Could 100% of these hazardous material be successfully collected for proper disposal? Can you offer a 100% guarantee that the panels in this project will not catch on fire? Do you believe Goodland Township is exempt from tornadoes, and should a catastrophic event, including but not limited to fire, tornado, impact this project, can you offer a 100% guarantee that the hazardous materials will not be emitted into the air or the contact ground?
So I'll give a first go at answering some of these questions, and then I'm going to call on Tommy Cleveland, who's our health and safety expert, to go through some of the other ones. And I just want to clarify with the commission, these are questions from a member of the public, right? Not the commission's questions. Right? Yep, okay. In regards to EPA and hazardous waste, what we submitted to the Planning Commission the other week mentioned something about TCAC standards. And I'm forgetting what the acronym is exactly for, but TCLIP, sorry, not TCAC. But that is essentially the classification system of the US EPA for what is considered hazardous and non-hazardous materials. And so what we have already promised and happy to have written as a formal condition of approval for this project is that any panel that we use would pass the TCLIP standards. And so what that means is that for disposal purposes, the panels that are going to be put out in the field would not be classified as hazardous materials by US EPA standards. And so that would allow us to dispose in normal facilities. It would not be classified as hazardous waste. And drawing away from that as well, it would not be any hazardous materials in quantities that the US EPA finds would tip it into a hazardous waste classification while it's operating. And so that's kind of the basis in terms of what actually gets put out in the field from the get-go. In terms of risk of fire and damage, one thing to really keep in mind is the nature of a solar panel. These are inert materials. It does not have gas in it. It does not emit any fluids. It does not emit any hazardous air. And so in order for a panel to even be exposed, it would have to receive extensive damage, right? These things are built to withstand normal conditions, extreme conditions out in the field. And so let's get to then the extreme example of enough damage to occur to the solar panel that the casing that encloses the entire solar panel breaks. Again, this is inert material, so it doesn't necessarily mean something is just going to fall out and then create a hazardous material issue. You would have to get a whole lot of material all at once exposed and then sitting there on the ground for a really long time for anything really to potentially leach into the ground to cause a contamination issue. And so what I would like is for Tommy Cleveland to address, really quantify what the risk is, put it into context of reality, as well as explain kind of what happens in these extreme conditions. Because we're not going to say nothing will ever happen, right? But there are certain things about just inherently what solar projects are and are not, as well as how the technology is implemented in the field. So Tommy, once we get him on the phone, have him respond a little bit more thoroughly. Go ahead, Tommy.
Hello, I'm Tommy Cleveland. That was just a very good answer that was given as an initial response, and I'm not sure I have a lot to add there, but I'll try to add a little bit of additional little explanation of just what the risk would be in a real world situation of thousands of solar panels across many acres. And as you heard, the panels are built to be very durable. Most of what is in a panel is glass and then an aluminum frame. So they're designed to be out in the elements for over 30 years. And this same basic kind of construction has proven itself out in the field for over 40 years now. And so it's well understood just how durable these panels are. But with that said, it is possible to break them, but it takes rather extreme events to break them. They withstand typical hailstorms, but if you have some extremely large, approaching baseball size hail, you can get cracks in the glass. And as soon as you get cracks in the glass, they don't perform as well as they originally did. And that shows up in the ongoing energy measurements of the project, as well as somebody would come out and inspect the project if there was a known hailstorm in the area. And so those broken panels would be found in relatively short order. The glass is cracked, but the encapsulant behind the glass keeps all the glass in place and still does a fairly good job of keeping moisture out of the panels. So a hailstorm is really minimal damage, but the panels get replaced, and there's no risk of anything coming out of the panels in that scenario. I think the most extreme scenario would be a tornado, and really about any wind event short of a tornado, the panels should withstand that kind of wind, but a tornado would be beyond what the racking and panels can withstand, so they would get bent and broken. But again, that adhesive or encapsulant that's behind the glass, in between the glass and the solar cells, keeps the panels generally intact. So even if they're bent in half and the glass is all shattered, it more or less stays into one piece because of those encapsulants. So that means it's easy to come around and pick up these damaged panels, and they're not going to fly very far. I mean, the tornado is extreme and can throw anything around. But these panels are bolted down to racking. That's extremely strong. And there's been a small number of cases where tornadoes have been through solar farms and nothing surprising happens. And some amount of panels are bent and damaged and end up on the ground. And it's very feasible to send the crew and very safe to send people out and pick up those modules. And you wouldn't have any risk of contamination. Even in an extreme case of a bunch of panels are broken in a tornado and just left on the ground, that's really somewhat similar to that T-clip testing that was mentioned, the EPA testing to determine if it's hazardous waste or not. In that test, the panels are broken up in a tiny little centimeter-sized pieces and then soaked in an acid bath where acid is designed to leach out as much of all the different materials in some waste as possible. So that T-clip test is a much worse case condition for possibly leaching anything out of the panels than just rainwater and broken panels in the ground. So the fact that this project is committed to only getting modules that would pass or panels that would pass that T-clip test means that any worst case scenario that could happen out in the field, the project and the land and the neighbors are all protected from risk of anything toxic coming out of the panels in any amount that would, any remote possibility of impacting humans, there's just no risk of that, but because they're only going to have panels that pass that T-clip test.
Go ahead, Tommy.
I hope that, I'll stop there and see if there's some more questions. I don't know if that's fully addressed these questions. There was a long list of questions there, so let me know if there's another aspect that'd be helpful to address.
Yeah, thanks, Tommy. The only thing I'm going to add in addition to what Tommy just said is we've also requested a condition of approval for soils testing. What that is meant to do is create a baseline for what existing conditions are in the soil out there where the project would be, and the reason why we would do that, right, is because there are naturally occurring levels of arsenic, of lead, other materials based off the agricultural use that would already be out in the field. And so what we're doing is essentially showing what's out there, that would be provided to the township board. And then we've already agreed to allowing for testing, soil testing to occur after an incident where a panel is broken to show exactly what is going on the ground to prove that there's not contamination. If under some circumstance there's something drastically different from that baseline condition, then yes, the project would be responsible for remediating it, just like it would be responsible for cleaning up any damage done to other properties outside of the project as a result of materials from the project going somewhere in a tornado condition, for example, like that. And so it would be the project's responsibility to clean up as a result of its panels causing property damage, just like any other neighbor would be responsible for property damage to their neighbor. And so I think that hopefully provides a little bit of comfort in terms of what's going out in the field and how you're prescriptively addressing extreme conditions as well going into the future.
Decommissioning plan. Why is there no mention of the acquisition of a surety bond?
So I'm not sure if there's maybe a misunderstanding of the decommissioning plan, but on page 5 we do outline the types of security that are ultimately approvable by the township board for having that decommissioning financial security. So surety bond is one of several different financial mechanisms which the township allows for to hold that financial security in place. Again, I believe it's made at the start of construction here in Goodland Township. That would have to be posted. So we do address that, and ultimately the financial security that does get posted is going to be approved by the township as well.
Complaint resolution plan. Can you explain the intended purpose of the complaint resolution agreement? You agree section 1 of the complaint resolution plan submitted by ORE states provide notice to the township of any potential abuses of the process contemplated in this agreement by parties that appear to make inquiries, claims, or issues to harass or impede the development of the project. Abusive complaints. Township agrees that it will not assist such harm by furthering any such abusive complaints, if any. Developer shall not be required to hold a resolution meeting for abusive complaints. That's the question mark.
Ben, you want to?
Oh, we're not done. I don't think. My fingers don't work all that well. Legally, the state grants ORE exclusive rights to deem any or all claims abusive. Do you agree? Legally, under this agreement, if ORE deems a property owner's claim as an abusive complaint, isn't it true the township would be obligated to cease any assistance to the property owner or stop any investigation into the matter? Do you agree?
Thanks. My name is Ben Jacoby. I don't think I've met most of the board or members of the crowd yet. My colleague Mark Gershon was here last time. He had a little bit more gray hair than me, maybe you remember. But I'm happy to address this. The question uses the word legally, and so immediately they pass the mic to me. The complaint resolution that I might have turned that off, might have died on me. So my battery died for a second, but we'll keep going. So the complaint resolution form that is submitted, Exhibit I to the application, if you look in paragraph 1H, that language in the letter is quoted accurately, and that allows a process whereby there is a review of whether complaints are being abusive and harassing. And that's not uncommon in these types of forms. What's important is that the next paragraph, paragraph 2, is the complaint resolution committee that's formed by the township. And that is an oversight committee by the township, appointed by township members. And that is a committee that provides for this iterative process. We're running low on battery here. But I'll give the short answer here because
Actually, there's a spare one.
Testing. Okay, sorry about that. So as I was saying, paragraph 2 of the complaint resolution form and paragraph 3 are the complaint resolution committee that's appointed by the township. No, that's too strong. So what this allows is for township oversight of the complaint resolution procedure. So I would disagree with the statement that the complaint resolution form gives an exclusive right to the developer here to determine what is abusive and what's not. Everything's going to end up in the developer's report, and that is something that's going to be reviewed by the township. And if there is need for the resolution meeting pursuant to the township's discretion, then that is a resolution meeting that will take place. So I think this concern is addressed right in the language of the complaint resolution form. It does not give the developer here this unilateral power to decide what's abusive or not. The township will be involved in that decision-making process.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Siebert, our township attorney, you said this is up to snuff.
It's musical mics.
The Goodland Township zoning ordinance in section 1226, subsection 6, contains a provision that deals with complaint resolution. I've reviewed the complaint resolution agreement that Orient has submitted with their application. This is an agreement that is customary in developments like this. The purpose of it is to set up an independent body that will review complaints. At the end of the day, we will have a committee made up of 3 people, one from the Planning Commission, one from the Township Board, and one from a member of the Goodland Township, the residents, will be on the committee. And if there's a complaint that's been made, it's the intent of this committee to work with Orient to resolve that complaint. If at the end there is no resolution and the Township Committee believes that there is a violation by Orient that Orient disagrees with, at the end of the day, you have access to the courts. I mean, a judge is going to decide whether or not they violated the terms of your ordinance or whether or not the development is being operated in a manner that's inconsistent with township standards. So I've got no issues with this agreement. It is customary in developments like this. And it's not intended to be an arbitration panel where, a complaint is made and there's somebody that makes a final decision. That's not the point of this. The point of this is for the parties to meet, to work through it, to see if they can resolve it. And if they can't, then the township feels strongly enough about it that there's a violation, they would authorize my office to file an appropriate complaint in circuit court and have a judge rule that they're operating the facility in violation of township standards. So I'm satisfied with it.
Site plan. Goodland Township's ordinance clearly called for a security fence 8 feet tall. ORE's site plan calls out for 7-foot security fence. Why? Goodland Township's ordinance clearly calls for planting evergreen trees to be planted along the perimeter of the project to protect the views of the neighboring properties. ORE's site plan clearly shows areas devoid of plantings to provide screening. You seem to point to existing screening as justification. Some of that existing screening is in adjoining properties or scrub brush along a ditch. ORE is planning to compensate owners of neighboring properties. Is Orion planning to compensate owners of neighboring properties to keep and maintain those existing screens compliant with the ordinance? Does ORE think thin scrub brush that loses leaves during fall, winter, and early spring is adequate screening to protect the views of neighboring properties?
Let me just respond briefly to that so the commission and the audience are clear. This is not a site plan review at this point. We are here on a special land use application for the land use only. Under the ordinance, it's a two-step process. The first is to determine whether the applicant receives approval for the special land use. If they do, the next step is to review the site plan, which will come back to the planning commission for detailed review and input. So while your question is certainly legitimate, it is not an issue that's being decided by the commission today. You're only deciding the application for the special land use.
So the next one would be road damage during construction and deep construction. According to ORE's decommissioning plan, 568 truckloads with cargo of 20 tons to remove all the equipment from the project. Since there's an assumption is the planned tree plantings may or may not be removed. There seems to be no estimate of the number and weight of these trucks will put upon the roads of Goodland Township. Is it safe to assume a minimum of 568 truckloads of 20 tons will place load upon the roads of Goodland Township during both construction and deconstruction? Some of these roads being gravel roads. Do you anticipate this volume and weight will have an adverse impact on the condition of area roads, specifically the gravel roads during construction and deconstruction?
So I'll respond to that question with the general intent of the project, both during construction and decommissioning. And that's if the project breaks, it buys. And coordination with the township that's going to happen both before construction as well as before decommissioning will specifically outline paths that construction crews will take, standards for which the roads must be maintained during construction as well as during decommissioning. And so the project will have a responsibility to ensure that township roads, to the extent that damage occurs, if it's a heavy rain season, gravel roads obviously are not impervious to damage from any type of passenger vehicle or commercial vehicle, but that there will be resolutions and standards that the project will have to adhere to address concerns of road conditions. And so that's something that is a planning process that happens prior to construction that will work closely with the county and relevant township officials to ensure that the project is not creating adverse conditions after construction is completed and after decommissioning is completed. So we're happy to memorialize that in a condition of approval. I believe we've already discussed in our application that coordination process that happens prior to construction after a building permit is issued. So if that needs to be more extensive, we're certainly open to discussions with the township to memorialize that on paper. But again, the intent of the project is to leave roads post-construction and post-decommissioning in as good as, if not better condition than they were prior to any project activities.
That's all the questions John has. I got a question for Amanda. Amanda, what's the total acreage that you guys plan on encapsulating in this particular project?
Are you talking about fenced acreage?
Complete total.
So the total acreage on the, as far as under the permit boundary is 1,639 acres.
Okay. I just went through the applications and I added up all the applications that you submitted and I come up with 2,286.89 acres. Can you respond to that?
So the properties that are under a transmission easement are not included in that 1,639. So that's where your difference is under those transmission acreage properties.
I went through the checkoff list and it wasn't even one of them on there that would qualify for the transmission. So if you go back to your booklet, and I will, because I went through all the applications and checked off the property owners and none of them had transmission. So the two you have down here with transmissions, if you get to the next page, is Nancy and Neil Garcia, Timothy Gillen, and Stephanie Gillen, and everybody up and above that is that's on the actual application. I have done the math, and Corey has checked my math, and it comes up to 2,286.89 acres. We have Willard Winslow, 160. Daryl and Dawn Dobson, 40. Shannon Dobson, 40. Tom Stoll, 265.42. Federal, 159.98. That's only application number 5. We have 80 acres, 80.05 for Glassford. We have 120.06 for Soroy's. Gillen, we have a 70 and a 72.88. Sequoia, we have 855.08. We have 303 for Lynn and Paula Walton, 303.82 for Lynn and Paula Walton. And we have 119.71 for Dorothy Walton.
And Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, those are the application sheets that list the acreages, not the agreements with the acreages that we supplied as part of backup for our permission.
Right, but you submitted 2,286 in the application process.
But just because this is important for us to understand, to be able to respond to it. So the application, like the actual application.
Right here, it's in my hand.
Yep, all right. So it's referencing what's in there in terms of total acreage, not the copies of the lease agreements.
Right, if you have a piece of property, you're over 573 acres, but you're asking for a special land use for that parcel. You follow what I'm saying? So you're asking for 573 more acres that will fall under that special land use.
Yep. So our intent is just to have a permit that applies to the 1,600 acres, basically, that the facilities are on, right? And so if we need to clarify that in the application sheets, then we might have to do that. But we are only planning to receive an approval for what the 1,600 and some odd acres covers, right?
Bob, if property tax ID number is where the special land use falls under, right?
Well, the special land use falls on the legal description that they've provided of the area that they want to put a solar facility.
but they submitted it for 1,700, but yet it's 2,286. So you're gonna have kind of a conflict because it follows that property tax ID number unless you split, correct?
Right, so the approval of the special use permit is based on the parcel. So the total acreage of the parcel that you added up is the 22,000 something.
2,286.
2286. So the approval of the special land use, if all the applications that were provided are approved, would be that 2286 acreage. You can't do a partial approval on part of a parcel.
That's what I'm
And Mr. Chairman, I think partly what this reflects is originally when the plan was to go for simultaneously site plan approval and special land use permit. What we did not do after it was decided that that was going to be a separate, distinct process was have that reflected in essentially the application, right? So the site plan approval that we would be going in for would be for that 1,600 acres, right? And the rest of it. And, so that might be the case where, because of this lot split issue, that there were whole parcels that we're not even going to construct on that were included as a result of that. That's where the discrepancy is.
Well, what I'm getting at is it's in the application, and it's still gonna be 573 acres over what you requested, but that particular property will carry a special land use with it, even though you're not using it. You follow what I'm saying?
Sure.
So, basically what I'm saying is I don't think you guys actually did your homework to the point to where, this is correct. You're originally asking for 713, now we're asking for 1639. And originally when you submitted the application, it's 2,286 acres encapsulated. So you can't take 573 away, and I'm sure it's a Sequoia farm because it's the biggest parcel. So, I'm just kind of confused with the process.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jacoby again. I do believe that the discrepancy came between the original site plan that had been proposed and what is now before you, which is the special land use permit. What you can do is you can approve the special land use permit for that parcel number, but then place a condition on the special land use permit that only those, that part of the parcel or those lands that are identified in the maps that were provided be used for the special land use permit or for the special land use. And then in the siting plan process, the company will come in and actually request the specific layout of that particular parcel. But you have the authority to make that distinction.
Well, I understand, but we have two sets of drawings up here. Rogers is 1639. It's dated 2/11/22. I have a set of drawings over here. It's dated 2/11/22 and 17/32. So Kimberly Horn, who does your engineering, is not done their homework. So we got conflicting numbers up here. We're supposed to make a decision on it. We're kind of scratching our heads here trying to figure out what the true value is.
So we did resubmit plan drawings prior to, first off, in response to points that Rove Engineering pointed out for clarification, right? And I believe that second set of drawings, which is what we would be moving forward on the approvals for, is the 1,600 number, approximately. And that was, yeah, it should say May 2nd is what the final last submitted drawings were.
5.2, full-size sets should say 1639. So all the full-size sets all should match that were submitted prior to the vote.
Right, those were submitted after the application process. My book has one set, the big set has a different number, there's another set floating around here. And then you guys didn't do any adjustment on this, but you did adjustment on your drawings. So you went up on your your application says 1739, so now you're at 1639 for your application. But the total that you have in a special land use application is 2286. I'm just confused about the discrepancy. I mean, I know you guys are saying we change this, we change that. When you apply for an application, you should have done your homework and been done with it and followed it through. Now we're sitting here scratching our head trying to figure out what's really the number. I mean, you say 1639, but is it 1713 or is it 2286?
So I will just say that if it made sense for us to resubmit the application pages to clarify that, we are happy to do so. That did not come up in conversations with Rowe Engineering. And we had thought that the path forward would be to resupply the drawings with the correct site plan approval that we were going to move under. And so, you know, I think that the ordinance for a special land use permit allows for the ability for you to condition what the approval is. If it's a matter of just pure paperwork consistency, then we're happy to resubmit the application as an exhibit as part of the approval to clarify that. But this is somewhat new to us. It did not come up in the prior conversations, and you know, to the extent that we cause confusion, obviously that is not our intent to try to sneak something under here. Our intent has always been to go off of the site plans that were submitted. That's all we're looking for a special land use approval for.
Yeah, added to a little bit of confusion because on the bottom of that, it added to some confusion because on that same last site plan that is dated May 2nd, 22, with the 1,639 acres, but below that it says solar panel acreage subject to change, but it doesn't give the maximum change or minimum change.
So in terms of that, so what we have supplied is the maximum. If there are different panel types that might ultimately be used that allow us to shrink from that, then that is what we would do, and we think that both the township and everybody else would actually prefer that. But what was supplied essentially is the maximum footprint of the project. And all of this, because this again is not a site plan approval, right, would be verified by the final approved site plan as well as what was permitted for the building permit that we would pursue.
Also, I'll just add that I know you've received a couple different versions of the map, and that has drawn confusion here. Each version, however, though, is a exhibit to the application, an updated exhibit to the application. So the record before you includes the correct map, which is the 1639 acreage, and so that is under consideration before you. And so I just wanted to make sure that the record reflects that correct map is before the Planning Commission today. To the extent that the Planning Commission's decision incorporates that map or makes conditions on that map, that is what is being considered.
Okay. So I guess what I'm saying is what parcel in this 2286 was not needed?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think we need to look into that. Don't have an answer for you right on the spot right now, but we can take that question, give us a little bit of time and revisit it to clarify that. Because we're not sure where the 2286 is coming from on our end.
Here,
and so
I'll send it to you, you do the math, it's coming out of my booklet. Corey checked it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've spent some time reviewing the application and the map and the files that we had from our planner. We spoke to our planner to find the discrepancy between what was on our planner's map and the numbers that were listed in the application. What we discovered is that the parcels that are listed on the map and the parcels that were in the application are the exact same parcels. So the application includes all the correct parcels by PIN number. So the project boundary is accurately stated in the application, and that is what is important for both notice and for this hearing and what's under consideration by this commission. We've described those by legal description in the application, which is also required. So that's the big picture, that all the parcels are the correct parcels. Now, the acreage number discrepancy that you identified, Mr. Chairman, appears to have come from an over-inclusive number in one particular parcel in that list in the application that included all the leased property rather than just the project boundary. So that number can be corrected, but for purposes of today, we have the correct parcels and the correct parcel boundary in front of you, and the parcels that we obtained came from the county GIS map. So they are accurately stated. And what we'd like to do in order to make sure that the record is absolutely clear for this commission's decision right now and today is to then read through all the parcels that are in the application and under consideration, which again are part of the application that was submitted, so that we make sure that we have an accurate list of the parcels before the commission today. And so I will turn to Amanda, who's been working diligently with our planner to get these parcels lined up.
Okay, so should we go through parcel by parcel with parcel IDs? All right.
Let's do them all.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, is it okay to go off the parcels that are listed on the site data table, which match, or do you want to go by the application pages?
Application.
Okay. All right. First parcel is 009-022-009-00. It's for Willard Winslow. Next parcel, 009-035-004. That's for Daryl and Don Dotson.
Oh, let me get that page here. Daryl and Don, you said, Mike?
Correct.
Acres on Allen's 42?
It says acreage of parcels 40.
That could be a difference between county records
And the GIS that the county's using.
I would prefer just use county records.
Okay.
What's the next one you're going to do?
All right. Next one is Shannon Dobson, which is tax parcel number 009-036-013-00.
Also 40?
Correct.
Keep moving.
All right, next one is Stolt, and there are going to be 4. It is 009-036-012-00. Second parcel, 009-036-011-00. Third parcel, 009-036-015-00. Fourth parcel, 009-036-016-00.
Acreage 265, correct?
That's what it says.
Keep moving.
Next parcel for Federo, 009-034-002-00.
159.
0.983. Next one.
Give me a hot second.
All right.
All right, move on.
Next one, Glassford, 009-035-014-00. Listed acreage, 80.05.
All right.
Next parcel, Soroy, sorry. One parcel, 009-027-001, listed acreage, 120.06.
All right.
Next is for Goodland, two parcels, 009-027-008-10. Second parcel, 009-027-003-00. Total parcel acreage for the two, 142.88.
All right, keep moving.
Okay, Sequoia. And this is the one that I think is causing the discrepancy, Mr. Chairman. I will read the parcels. Hold on one sec. Okay, Mr. Chairman, we just have to double check one thing on that set of parcels. So if we could go to the next owner and we'll circle back. Is that all right with you?
Yeah.
So the next one is Walton, and listed are 5 parcels. 2 do not need to be included. Do you want me to say the 2 that should not be included?
Yes.
All right, the 2 that should be excluded from the application or 009-026-006-00. The second parcel that should be excluded is 009-022-011-00. And those parcels in total are approximately 150 acres. Let me know when you'd like me to read the parcels that are included.
I didn't get that here. It went quite that fast. All right, you can go ahead and recommend where the three
The three that are not included?
no, the three that are included.
Gotcha, okay, sorry. Okay, first parcel, 009-026-004-10. Second parcel, 009-026-004-00. Third parcel, 009-027-009-00. And those three included parcels should equal about 150 acres.
Okay, we have 30382, so which one has, out of the two, which one are the, I guess I'd like to have all three of them broke down. So we know the exact acreage, so I go back and do my math, it jives.
So that's gonna take us a minute.
Excuse me, could we get the acres of the first parcel you read? 009-022-009-00.
Yes, okay. And that's the Winslow parcel?
I believe so.
Correct, yeah.
160.
160, yep.
Well, while you guys are trying to come up with a number for these three parcels as far as their acreage, let's go to, I guess Dorothy Walton.
Yep. And there's just one parcel here, and that is 009-028-015-00.
$119.71.
That's what we have.
So we're still waiting on Sequoia and Walton, correct?
Correct. Okay. All right, so to go back to Walton, and Mike, just make sure I got this right. You wanted the three parcels that are included, their acreage, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So for 009-026-004-10, that is 69.16 acres. Then for 009-026-004-00, 9.22 acres. And then for 009-027-009-00, that is 76.41 acres.
Thank you. How we're making it with Sequoia?
Just double checking. Okay. All right, 009-034-006-00. Total's 42.37. Second parcel, 009-034-003-00, total acreage, 80 acres.
Was it, 009-034-006-00?
That's 034-003-00.
The 006, first one.
Correct.
The very first one? How many acres was this one?
So the first one, which is the 006, was 42.37 acres. The second parcel, which is 003, 80 acres.
Okay.
Third parcel, 009-034-009-00, 30 acres.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, 009-035-002-10, total acreage 75. Next parcel, you ready?
Yep.
All right, 009-035-009-00, total acreage 37.5. Next parcel, 009-035-010-00, total acreage 40. And that should be everything.
What was the last two numbers on that one?
00. So 009-035-010-00.
Yeah, just how many acres?
40. So that is all the project land, not including the 2 transmission parcels. As we agreed, those were not, the application pages were not needed for that. And just to note, the Sequoia parcel, I think, is the one causing the biggest discrepancy because the acreage is listed where total acreage is leased, not the parcel acreages that we just read out.
I have a quick question. So on the site plans, there's an additional parcel indicated that wasn't read off. 009-034-010-00.
Read it again, Corey.
009-034-010-00. It's on the site data table on the site plans.
That's, there should be 2 transmission parcels.
That's one of them?
That's one of them.
Okay.
Yep. And then you want the other one read?
Yeah.
Just for clarity's sake, okay. All right, second transmission parcel 009-035-011-00. And I should clarify, transmission, these are underground lines, not overhead.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if it's helpful just for the public to understand, the acreage totals that we derive and that are in the site plan are via a GIS layer that is provided by the township, county, sorry. It is not unusual for there to be acreage total discrepancies between county data set and GIS and what is listed by the assessor. And so there could be that at play as well. But if the parcels are correct, they match up with what was in the site plan and noticed. And so if there is a discrepancy in acreage, then we might have to dig into the county data a little bit more. But the notice acreage, the site plan acreage, those are, from our data, correct.
So you can confirm that it's 1,713 acres, not 1,639?
The, hold on one second. So, the 1,700 one, that was the original application, right? And that was matched with the site plan that was submitted with the original application. Then, based off of corrections given, the acreage total for the current site plan that was provided after the original application, I think that's May 2nd, is 1,639.
That should be reflected on the oversized sheets of packet that each planning commissioner receives. So the large size zoning site plans all should say 1639 on them.
And for clarity, for the concerns of the special use permit, we really only care about the applications and the correct information on the applications. In terms of the information on the site plans, that can be ironed out at the site plan review.
Right, and the site plan would confirm the final acreage that the site plan is covering.
Correct.
Right.
Part of the reason we spent the time to get this ironed out. I think we can move on from this. We got some answers. Anybody else from the planning commission have questions for Orion? No, Roger does. I don't seem to understand.
This probably doesn't have anything to do with. This probably doesn't have anything to do with your approval or disapproval. But there is one question I had to ask that nobody asked, was if there's a change in administration, can this project be shut down?
So just clarifying, administration is a different presidency, federal administration, right? So no, our interaction with the federal government is pretty minimal. People list various subsidies and whatnot that solar takes advantage of. To clarify that, the only federal program that the project can take advantage of is the ITC, the investment tax credit, which is a tax credit available for operating projects. Outside of that, our agreement with the end purchaser of the power can run anywhere from 15 to 25 years. That has nothing to do with federal policy. That is an agreement to sell power, a certain number of megawatt hours every single day for that entire period that the project gives to its user. That has nothing to do with federal policy. That has nothing to do with state policy. That is two private entities entering into a private contract to sell power. It is one of a very unusual set in corporate America of those types of agreements, because people aren't used to seeing 20, 25-year agreements, but in the power industry, that's pretty standard. That doesn't get affected. In regards to the ITC, which this project, if when it is built, that program is still around, we'll take advantage of it. It has been IRS policy to grandfather things, so if an administration decides in Congress, because Congress is ultimately the ultimate body that approves this stuff, decides that that program needs to get sunsetted, it will get sunsetted, but as long as the project was operational when that program started, it will still be able to take advantage of it. If that program is not around, by the time the project comes online, then the project doesn't take advantage of it. That is really the only interaction between federal tax policy and this project that it gets affected. In terms of what any one administration between the two says about how much renewable energy should be out there, that isn't currently affecting the market right now. Maybe there's some sort of federal energy policy in the future that gets created, but there hasn't been since the founding of the Republic, and I don't see it happening anytime soon. So, right now I'd say what happens at a policy level at the federal government has had very little to no impact on the industry overall.
Mr. Chair, just if I may, just to jump back to the acreage issue. So we did add everything up and independently verify, and we got the total of 1737.34, which is within 20, I believe, acres of what's on the site plan. So I think that issue could be put to bed.
I agree. Are you guys still seeking a 3-year extension?
We are not. Not from the Planning Commission. We withdraw that request.
Okay. Anyone else on the Planning Commission got questions for
Yeah, I
me?
got some questions. I don't know if it's a question of planning commission or a question of a resident. So I'll ask, and if I can't ask, let me know. What's your work hours? Can we ask that? Your work hours, what are they gonna be? Like 6 in the morning till 6 at night? That would be one of the things I'd wanna know. Is somebody gonna work from daylight to darkness, or?
Yeah, so standard for a project like this, their normal business hours, be it 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. essentially is what a normal work crew would be during operations of the project. During construction, that is a good question. I mean, typically we follow if there's a zoning ordinance, for example, that mandates construction, usually it's 7 to 6 p.m. I'm not as familiar with if Goodland specifically specifies that, but that's pretty standard for construction.
Well, I think it's seen in ours. I don't know where I've seen it, but I looked at so much stuff. But that would be one of the things I'd want to know. Another thing is road conditions and brining. If you're living on a dirt road, you got any pen traffic at all, the type of traffic that's going to be going up and down the road. Traditionally, we only have the road springs twice a year, and if you have a lot of traffic going back and forth, it gets very, very dusty. So would you guys plan on taking care of concerns if people said, hey, this is just way too much dust?
Yes, absolutely, and we're happy to memorialize that and get that on paper if wanted.
And the next question, and I kind of got an answer talking to somebody else about this, but I went and looked at another solar facility, and the township supervisor drove, he was nice enough to drive my wife and I around, and they were having issues with the company when they put in the panels. They broke the drain tiles, and now they're completed, and now they got flooding in fields because the drain tiles were broken, and now they got to figure out who's going to have those fixed, or if they can fix them because it was installed.
And so, just to be clear, you're talking about drain tiles within a farm field,
Yes.
private land. Yep.
Yes.
So that is a unfortunate but common occurrence on projects such as these. It's unavoidable. Our lease with our landowners mandates that the project must repair those tiles, and there is not a time frame on that. So if a problem as a result of construction or operation results 5 years later, then the project is obligated to still repair those tiles so that there's proper drainage.
And the other question I have, I know we can't talk to people in the general public, and one of the questions that was brought up to me was, if these people are opposed to this and it does pass, will you still have the courtesy to work with them on any issues they might have, you know, to a limit, I know, but that's one question that they asked, I was asking, I said, there's no way I can talk about this, but basically, if they come forward, after this is passed, and they ask you specific things, if you could change things or move trees or plant trees or whatever, as long as it's within reason.
Absolutely, and you know, that was really one of the main purposes for the open house that we held prior to the application, was to try to get that feedback. We fully understand that didn't include everyone necessarily, depending on who showed up, but yes, I would absolutely encourage neighbors to come talk to us, the sooner the better, and have a dialogue about what we might do further than what we've currently proposed to alleviate some of those concerns. We're open to it. Landscaping, for example, if there are specific requests, we are happy to listen to that and try to accommodate as much as we possibly can. And ideally that happens before the site plan approval, but you know, I think our general viewpoint is, you know, this project is going to be a long-term neighbor, and good neighbors start with good communication, and we want that to be the case prior to construction, during construction, after construction, during operations.
And the only other thing is hopefully, like I said, just taking care of issues if this does go through. But thank you.
My question is on the makeup of the panels. We don't have a material breakdown, and we understand that it's a technology that is changing. When you guys do, I guess, is there a way that if you do come to a conclusion on these are the panels we're going to use, that we can review them to assess if they are, just to give everyone a peace of mind to see that they are safe?
So yes, first I want to say that yes, technology changes, but the basic makeup of panels tends to not. I mean, from manufacturer to manufacturer, there might be slight differentiations in percentages of material and whatnot, but the overall makeup of the panels probably not going to change too much, especially considering, you know, we're already self-imposing condition that we will not use cadmium telluride-based panels, so that excludes a whole different category, and so this would need to be mostly polysilicon, and that's all within the spectrum. But to answer your direct question, Commissioner, yes, so we will, prior to the building permit, submit exactly the panel type, the full list of specifications, as well as material types that will be provided to the township at building permit.
This is right.
No, I was just looking to see on the parcels that were included.
Oh.
It's kind of one part that I am pretty tied up on is the location of this project and size of this project. And this is going to be, if this goes through, like you said, a neighbor for a long time. Is there any consideration in looking into one that is a proper fit for our township? For example, in Lapeer, it's by the freeway, whereas in here, it's kind of in the middle of everything, you know. How much consideration was put into the decision of the location?
Yeah, so quite a bit of consideration was made, but I'd say, you know, we follow the lead of the township's policies in terms of citing it, right? And the ordinance, the solar ordinance that was passed, allows for this type of development within the agricultural zone, and that ultimately was what we were chasing, was what was in the township regulations. In terms of additional siting, you know, a lot of that is going to be dependent on where landowners that are participating in the project want it, as well as some of the constraints physically of where a project like this can be located. You know, for us to get our power out, it needs to be in close proximity to a transmission line. And this is the area where that existing transmission infrastructure is. And so the combination of being within the area that the township identified as being able to develop this type of project with the landowners and their feedback for who's participating, as well as the location of the transmission system that goes throughout the township, is what made this project be where it is and what we applied for. You know, and to say, I think we fully recognize that this is an agricultural area, and we've gone to, it's important to us to be able to have a use that is compliant with the existing use, quite a bit of length to understand how we can then ensure that that land, after the project is removed, is returned to the same use as it was before. And that's the extensive amount of ground cover that and the type of seed mix that we're going to do and maintain at the project to ensure that the soil underneath the project is left in as good shape, if not better, than what it is currently, so that that use can continue after the project is done. And that's also just to note it, which I know we said before, so sorry to sound like a broken record, a big reason why the state of Michigan recognizes solar development on agricultural land as a valid use through the Michigan Department of Agriculture. It's because of these abilities for a solar project to not, at the end of the day, permanently alter the use of that existing agricultural land. And so that's something, from our biased perspective, is why we think agricultural land and solar use go well together. And I should just add, that's another reason why you know, we did our best in terms of understanding and being proactive about vegetative buffering to lessen any visual impacts that are potential on properties. And so if there's additional work that needs to be done there, we are certainly open to that as well. And that's just another way that we can further blend this project into the community.
I spoke with the drain commissioner. A couple 2 weeks ago, and he does have some concerns when the time comes to do his ditch cleaning operations that some of these fences you guys are going to have installed is going to be really close to his encroachment for cleaning ditches. Is that something you guys would look at to appease him?
Yes, and we have talked to him about that already, and so that's been identified, and certainly those conversations and the result will be reflected in the final site plan as well.
Well, with regard to that, I am aware that a lot of your facility is real close to tributaries that connect to the south branch, or the north branch of the Mill Creek. You have little tributaries on Sisson Road, all the way over there on Bowers Road, which ultimately all end up in the Mill Creek. I work construction. I'm quite aware of the fact that some construction guys are pigs, meaning hydraulic oil and grease and all that stuff. Getting into the waterways is what I'm concerned about, because you guys are in very close proximity to all those tributaries going to the north branch of the Mill Creek.
So if there are specific concerns in construction methods in terms of further safeguarding any potential runoff, we can talk about that, and happy to provide that assurance. In general, though, you know, this isn't like fracturing. You know, there's grading involved, surely. There are large vehicles involved in construction, but it's fairly easy in terms of a project of this size compared to other types of infrastructure to contain that at the site. But if there are additional concerns and ways for us to mitigate that during construction to address it, absolutely open to that. I think that it's appropriate to have that conversation with the Drainage Commission as well as the Planning Commission if that's what's wanted, to identify what those mitigation measures are when it comes to construction.
Okay.
Instead of putting these right smack dab in the middle of a farm field, couldn't you have followed the DTE and ITC easements and put them there?
I guess the quick answer is no. So DT, ITC, they maintain their rights of ways. They specifically maintain those for the infrastructure that exists there. And so as an organization, most utilities do not want anybody else in between them. Additionally, for the project and scale that we're proposing here, that we think needs to work economically for the project to actually be something that a end user is going to want to purchase from, there's not enough land within those easements, when especially accounting for existing infrastructure that's there. There's a lot of above ground infrastructure, transmission lines that create shadows, which creates additional inefficiencies with solar panels. And so we would not be able to, I would say confidently, without actually measuring out the acreage of all those easements and whatnot, be able to have a project anywhere near approaching capacity to support the economics that we think are sellable to power purchasers.
Any more questions for Orion? Corey?
No questions for me.
Well, the board's gonna take a few minutes. We're gonna have a conversation.
Mr. Chair, just to be clear, if you're gonna take a break, you're not gonna talk amongst yourselves.
No, we're not taking a
Oh,
break.
okay. When you say you can talk amongst yourselves, I wanna make sure that we're doing it as part of the open meeting.
Yeah, nobody's leaving.
Okay, good.
So we're gonna take a few minutes. We're gonna have a conversation. And, we're gonna see where this thing goes. So, bear with us. It might be 10 minutes, it might be 20 minutes, it might be 30 minutes. We gotta do a little bit of a fact-finding mission for ourselves and get some clarity on this and make a very informed decision.
Mr. Chair, if I may, to the commission, just kind of reiterate how the decision should be made.
I understand.
All right,
We gotta do 4 different things and make sure that we all follow what it is.
Yep, that's all I was gonna say.
So, and that's kind of what I'm gonna do is say, hey, listen, this is what A, B, C, D. So we gotta go through all that for ourselves. All right? So that's what we're gonna do now. Sit tight. Take care.
No, it's amongst ourselves.
No. That was the point I was making before. This is a public meeting. Any discussion commission members have, they have at this table in public before the audience. There is no separate dialogue. It violates the Open Meetings Act completely.
Well, I need 6 microphones.
Well, that may be, but this has to be done in public.
Oh, yeah. Where's Val? Yes. Okay. Special land use, standards for approval to grant a approval of a special land use, the following must be found true per section 1703 standards. The location, size, and character of the proposed use shall be in harmony with the appropriate to the surrounding neighborhood. B, the proposed use shall not result in a creation of a hazard traffic condition. C, the site layout, intensity, and periods of use shall not be as such to create a nuisance due to dust, noise, smell, vibration, smoke, or lighting. D, the proposed use must comply with all specific requirements in the zoning district where the proposed use will be located. So, the location, size, and character is what we have to address right now. Do we have any dialogue in this? You gotta talk to the microphone.
I believe the size is just too big for the township. If it was smaller parcels.
In our ordinance, we didn't, put a size in it.
I talked to a lot of different people and investigate a lot of different things. And it's a large thing. Their recommendations to me was if we approve this, to make sure and follow through and make the company do what they're gonna say, do what they're gonna do. I've been here all my life, and I went from seeing milk cans set out, the big milk cans set out, and less farms, and the people that are farming now are like the elite of farming communities. It's just a very hard decision, so I put all my heart and soul into this. So I don't know if that follows anything with the size and location or whatever, but change happens sometimes.
We didn't put a size on this because each case stands on its own. Each parcel is unique, each application is unique, so we didn't have to, because in standard A, we can deny or approve based on the location, size, and character. That's why we didn't specify a size. In this case, I think to blanket the eastern part of the township is inappropriate. How anybody could think that would be in harmony with farmland. They call them solar farms, but I don't believe they're under the Farm Act. This is not a farm. This is a solar array. And I don't think that it belongs in that location. It's just too big.
All right, I'm gonna lay something out here. The location, size, and character of the approach shall be in harmony and appropriate to the surrounding neighborhood. I went back and looked at the 100-007 zoning ordinance, and I have come up with some contradictory stuff. I'm gonna read it to you here so that people can kind of understand what I'm thinking. When you say agriculture residential district, that's exactly what it is. If you guys go to the zoning ordinance, section 401, statement of purpose, it's kind of like the ethos to the township. The agricultural rural district is established to preserve rural agricultural environment by encouraging the continuation of agricultural uses, by helping to conserve lands suited for the pursuit of agricultural activities, and is discourage the development of land uses which will generate demands for urban services at public costs and increase improvement demands on scarce energy resources where other lands more suited for such purposes are designated and available. It is the policy of the township. The public water and sewers will not be encouraged within this district until other lands identified for public water and sewer have been substantially developed and additional lands are identified to the extent that the need of such land is demonstrated. This is out of the original zoning ordinance, so this supersedes the amendment for solar. It's kind of like, and I didn't write this, this is wrote many years ago, and basically our forefathers that developed this township, their goal was to keep it what it is, how it is. So I believe that this is not in harmony with the community. I believe that people many years ago have developed pure passion for this township. And I think that's why this is a statement of purpose for Goodland Township. So we're gonna go and I'm gonna have for this topic A, which will be what we just discussed, I'm gonna ask the individuals to my right and to my left for strictly standard approval A. I need a motion to make a vote on whichever way they choose to vote their conscience. And I will do the roll call until I get to myself.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, no, what you should, let me correct one thing that you said before you move on. First of all, the commission should address all four of the standards. After.
One at a time. I'm gonna do them all. I wanna do 1, 2, 3.
You should have a general discussion on all four of the standards. At the conclusion of that discussion, then it would be appropriate for someone to make a motion either to approve with conditions, or deny, but you should have a general discussion on all four of the standards. Second, let me correct in one other item. You indicated that section 4.01 of the zoning ordinance supersedes the solar energy provisions of the ordinance. That is not accurate. The zoning ordinance was amended by recommendation of the Planning Commission and approved by the Township Board. That provision specifically provides that solar energy facilities are permitted by special land use in the agricultural residential district. So, you decide it however you want to decide it, but don't base your decision on the error of law that section 4.01 supersedes the special land use standards, because it does not.
I have read an article where it does.
Well,
it was in an MCL.
Well, I'm your lawyer and I'm telling you otherwise. It does not supersede that section. And if you make your decision based on that, you're going to create an error in this record, which is going to come back at a subsequent date to haunt us. So don't do that.
And just for clarity, I think the concern was that you were talking about making a motion on each individual standard. You can have a separate discussion on each individual standard, but the motion is going to be based on the application, just one motion.
Oh, I was going to do one for each. That way there was no discrepancies. I got it saved though. I'll read it off to you one time. Here, man. Talk about B. I'm gonna find this.
B, the proposed use shall not result in the creation of a hazardous traffic condition. I think they were clear on saying that this project is, I think they used the word passive. So, meaning it's not going to create traffic or hazardous conditions.
So, in this case, a yes vote would be a no. No, it will not create hazardous traffic conditions. It might initially, but you're in construction. So, yes, would that be yes then? Yes, it will not. And I may have that wrong.
Actually, no.
No?
Because the thing is with the traffic conditions.
Wait a minute. I hear it.
Actually, no, because the traffic conditions are gonna be different. You have farms in this area, which some are listed on this map, which to get the fields that they have to farm, they have to take the long way around. And you also have a lot of farmers in this area, which this year they've been kind of cordial because of this solar thing coming on. They do pull over on the side of the road, but most of them won't take their big corn heads off their combine and run down the road and run everybody off the road. So now that they gotta go the long route, it's gonna happen again. And they have to travel farther distances.
So you're saying it will create more?
Permanently roads.
Part C, the site layout, intensity of use, and periods of use shall not be such as to create a nuisance due to dust, noise, smell, vibration, smoke, or lighting.
So it doesn't look like that would create any extra dust, noise, smell, or vibration, or smoke or lighting.
No, I think they have it, I think C they have in the bag. I think they meet that requirement.
Did we do D already? No. D is the proposed use must comply with all the specific requirements of the zoning district where the proposed use would be located. So, those are the four standards that we have to go around today.
Steve, you have anything on this deed?
No, I don't.
Roger?
I'm still confused on the acreage thing. If there was that big of a discrepancy that I caught on the last day, and they didn't catch it, and they've been working on this for months, I don't like it. Yes.
Well, unfortunately, we can't really rule in that discrepancy. It's been sorted out. So, I would agree that basically what in front of us was an incomplete application because they've changed drawings. There was a discrepancy with the acreage, but that's not the reason we're here. We got to rule on what we got in front of us. Whether it's a yay or nay, that's our decision. It was brought to their attention. They seem to have a grip on it. This is definitely that spot for everybody in this board to be in. But I firmly believe that the location, because it's in prime ag land in our township, the size, very large, character. When I mean character, I mean we live out in God's country, and this is definitely, we're gonna know it's there, even if there's trees, even if they're only 13 feet tall or whatnot. So I don't think it meets the harmony factor. It's gonna take away from the quaint rural area we live in and the surrounding neighborhoods. I guess that being said, that is my opinion. That is not, that's my opinion. That's the hardest one to have a hard, when you say harmony, and it's like a bad neighbor driving a car up or, that we can't deal with. So with that is my opinion. The other three standards they've met. Two, sorry. But ultimately, this is the parameters we have to make our decision on. And when each and every one of you vote, I want you to list either yay or nay or whatever, and at the end of the day, we'll have to write down for the record why we chose to say what we did. And that's a conscious decision that each member on this board has to make. So with that said, Mr. Siebert, are we in a position now that we've sorted out these four standards? Can we actually make a motion to vote on this and do roll call?
If the commission is satisfied that you've had adequate discussion, you've had all the questions of Orion that you wanted answered, and you've had your dialogue and you're ready to make a motion, as you had just indicated, the maker of the motion should specifically state the reason, whether approve with conditions or deny, in reference to each of the standards set out in section 17.03. You ready?
Okay.
If I could add, if you look at my report, I have sample motions spelled out. I would suggest that you read over those real quick before anyone make a motion. It's very important that you are referencing the standards. If you're making a motion to approve, you must state how it meets all four standards. If you're making a motion to deny, you must state which standard it does not meet and why.
What page is that on for you?
Page 2 of 2 of my special use permit checklist. It should be at the back of your packet. It's not in the PowerPoint. Oh, it's in my report.
know I've seen this one. Is that why yeah, exactly.
Have you reviewed those?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the front.
Okay.
While we're looking through that, I just want to say, I've been on the board for like a year and a half now, and it's been really cool to see so many people passionate about our township. And both sides had some very good points. It's important, I think, that we all don't look at each other as greedy or this or that or this or that, but we can come together through all of this. And I know a lot of you guys more now than before this whole process, so hopefully there's a lot of good that comes out of this.
Anybody on the board want to make a motion at this time? Marilyn.
I make a motion to deny. Location, size, character, I don't think it fits. It's not in harmony. And the traffic conditions, from what Roger says, these farmers are gonna have to go around. It's gonna be very inconvenient for them. I don't think it'll create dust, noise, or smell problems. And it does, will comply with the requirements of the zoning district, but the first two I don't agree with. So I make a motion to deny based on that.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay, we're gonna do a roll call vote. Grow.
Deny.
Brzezinski.
Deny.
Foltz. John Monard.
Approve.
Matt Van Dyke.
Deny.
I also too do that. The special land use has been denied for Orion under, give me that piece of paper. Under A of the 1703, location, size, character, proposed use shall be in harmony, which it's not, and appropriate for the surrounding neighborhood. B, proposed use shall not result in creation of hazardous traffic conditions which may impede farm equipment. They've met the requirements for C and D. Yes. No. No. No, they meant C. Obviously, during construction, you're gonna have noise, nuisance, dust, smells, and vibrations.
I can't hear you, sir.
How long will construction take?
It doesn't matter no more.
Well, for that part.
Motion's been carried. Okay, move on. New business. I don't think they're ready to put on the sheet. Where'd my pen go? Old business, that's what it was, no new business, old business. We have no old business to address. Number 8, public comment.
Can we make a public now?
Sure you can.
This was really difficult, folks. I have.
This was hard, very difficult. And God bless my wife for putting up with me being a crazy person on all this stuff. That's all I got to say.
Sure.
I don't know how
I need your name.
feels, what's that?
I need your name.
Lynn Walton feels this is gonna.
We're having public time now?
Public comment, not public time, public comment.
I'd like to know how Roger thinks this is gonna change the traffic here. Look at all the 150,000-pound semis that aren't gonna be going up and down the road to these fields. And the equipment ain't gonna be going to the field. There's gonna be no traffic in and out of these fields. What do you think about that? No, we don't go around them. We're not putting solar in the middle of the road. And what about when I load all my semis out on the road and block traffic and people get pissed off? There's gonna be none of that anymore. Right?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And with the farms being there, we're gonna still be blocking the roads. There's not gonna be no traffic with solar. I don't know how you think that's gonna screw that.
Can I go next?
As soon as I get the mic up here. Please put your name down so that the recorder knows and makes you speak your name clearly to her.
Hey, Mike, they gotta address us, right?
Right. It's public comment, that's all it is.
Hello, my name is Teresa Orlowski, and I've lived in Goodland Township for 35 years, and I've loved no country better than ours, and I know it was very hard for you to be the judges, and I know it was very hard for the people to be divided, and I know change may be inevitable, but we have to stick together. Imlay City, Goodland Township is beautiful. We need to support our farmers first, where the food comes from. And the diesel is going up, and to make them go around the long way and pay more doesn't make sense. So I pray for all of you so that we will not be enemies, that this got this and this didn't get that, before all this happened, you know? And that the company will find a different spot that's more comfortable for everybody, away from farms, away from, you know, people's homes, because I myself did not want to look out my window or down my road and see 15-foot solar panels where my beautiful corn was growing, okay? I'm sorry, but you guys can go back to California or a different part of Michigan or Arizona where there ain't no farms. We love our country. And you can pay me $1 million, $10 million. It ain't worth the farmland to go turn into industrial buildings, solar panels, ice skating ponds, amusement parks, whatever. Goodland Township is good the way it is.
I'd just like to make a comment. I live next to a gravel pit that was approved by the planning commission. My name is George Jackson. I live on Summers Road. And I live next to a gravel pit that was on a 30-acre site that was approved by the planning commission of Goodland Township. I've lived with that situation for the last 21 years. The unseen effects that weren't addressed at that time were all the diesel fumes that I've had to breathe for the last 21 years off of that gravel pit from all the industrial processing that's going on through special land use. My first wife died of lung cancer from the effects of that diesel smoke partially, and my current wife is highly chemically sensitive due to the effects of that diesel fumes inundating our house from daylight to dark, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And the operator of that gravel pit never abided by any of the permit requirements that he agreed to, and told me to my face that those are only merely suggestions, that they don't hold any weight. And the bottom line is, the planning commission has no means of enforcing the parameters that you did put on it if you had approved it. And I know that from personal experience, having lived with a situation that was approved by this Goodland Township Planning Commission. All of your members are different now. It's not any of your faults, but it's a circumstance that I bore the brunt of for the last 21 years. And there's a lot of unseen things going on with projects like this that you don't even have a clue about. None of us do, because you won't even see it until 5, 10 years down the road. That project was approved. It was supposed to only be 5 years. It was supposed to only be a 5-acre pond. Turned out to be now it's 19-acre pond. It's now 21 years later, and it's still ongoing. And I applaud all of you for voting this down. Yeah, and our well went dry.
Good afternoon, Keith Bosse, B-O-S-S-E. I live on Cade Road. Just as a comment to the number one, just in case no one says it enough, thank you for taking the time, not for the decision, but taking the time to go through every line item, all the diligence, and all the stuff that you guys went through. On either side, I'm sure you got a lot of, good comments, we'll say, right, with a smile. Thank you very much for taking the time. Very much. It was very diligent and very well serving the community. The only comment I would make is about the smoke and noise. So even Orion's own experts said solar panels do catch fire, and right, and they do. And there's also a cascade effect. So there's smoke from that, and if anything goes forward or for the next go around, there needs to be a plan or some sort of methodology for people who are downwind of the toxic fumes when they're on fire for evacuation for people and livestock. Like, again, thank you very much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rico Moore, the 6850 Lyons Road. I just wanted to take a few minutes here to really, I was on a planning commission. I understand tough decisions. I was never faced with a tough decision like you were faced with here. And I felt for you, and I thank you all for taking the time to study the issues. And if you voted for it, I think you still had the heart to put time into it. I hold nothing against you at all. John, I've known you for a long time, and you know, you're a good man, and I appreciate you, John. I appreciate that decision, because I know it was hard for you. But I just, what you did here today for me and my wife is you restored my faith in this government. Because I spent 18 years here on planning commissions in the county and in this township, and I've seen a lot. And I've seen a lot of things that I just had to walk away from, and it hurt decisions that, things that people were doing here, and I don't want to get into that. But there are still good people here. And I just appreciate all of you, because you did it was justice. Justice is impartiality. That's why I got out of this, because I wasn't seeing justice. People were biased, and there was a lot of good old boy stuff going on here. But you people today work justice, and I appreciate you for that. Thank you.
I'm probably gonna cry, but thank you so much for all of your time and effort and your hard work. And I just hope that as a township and township board and a township planning commission, that maybe we could relook at some of these ordinances that we have and some of these things that might leave us open to different things, not related to the solar, but just in general. And I just wanted to say thank you. And I appreciate the fact that we're now being told and can be more involved with our township government. And moving forward, I hope that this brings us all together. I know that through all of this, I've met so many wonderful people that I did not know before this, like Matt had said earlier, and I just appreciate you and all of the work that you put into this. Thank you.
I just want to thank everybody that was on the board, and doesn't mean I agree with the decision, but that's how things go. And but I think then there should have been, you know, a lot of people come up here and go with emotions. That's not facts. And it's too bad we couldn't have done more into the facts of what was going to be, like, you know, the road dust and the dust from them, and they're going to burn up, and that's just not facts. It's just emotions. But that was the change I have seen coming since 1969, as people change and our news media and just people in their minds have changed. It's not the same as the man used to be back in the day. And back to the World War II guys, you know. But I do appreciate everything that you guys have done. And that's what government's for. I abide by the decisions, but I just wish it was more facts, just talking to people about facts, not emotions. Thanks.
What's your name?
Oh, John Gilliland on Crow Road. I always forget something.
Greg Okanowski. We're losing power on the grid. They can't do any more coal plants. They're shutting down nuclear plants. I own property up in Hillman and Presqu'île. They're predicting brownouts because they can't support the electrical grid the way it is now. So we need solar. It's just a matter of where it's going to go. We can't put it on the easements. Orion did a great job in their presentation. I mean, they want to do buffers. The solar panels aren't going to be high. I have solar panels up north of mine are 30 feet high. So there's restrictions. As far as traffic or the roads, the farmers can go down the roads. The setbacks are 150 feet from the road. So I don't think that's an issue either. It should be based on facts, not emotions.
I just want to say that
I need your name.
Mark Farley, the farmland that is here, and the farmers are going to put more back into this local economy than this solar project would have done. And that's one thing that bothered me was once the solar's in, what money is going to go back to our local companies for whatever it is, fuel, hardware, hired help, implement dealers, all that will be affected as we lose the farms that are here. And I know farming is hard, but I think there's a whole lot more down that would have hurt this community in the long run. And I'm not against solar, I'm against where it goes. And I think there's better places for it. And I think that's part of why this isn't going forward good is because of the location. And I think we're very fortunate to have the farming that is going on to support the local economy. That's all I gotta say.
Hello, Sharon Sklar, Shaw Road, 7191 Shaw Road. I just want to thank the Planning Commission for your decision today. I'm sure you all did your due diligence and gave it, very thoughtful, scrutinizing before you came today in front of all of us, which wasn't easy. Also, I think I just want to say the one thing that bothered me was, I'm not against solar. I think there's a place for it, but again, not in the middle of farmland, the beautiful farmland that we have here. But I think it was kind of the position, big business, nothing against big business, was some of the comments about, how it was going to pay for our schools and our property taxes and things like that. They're separate. It's not going to do anything for our property taxes. They're not going to give, Goodland Township a bunch of money and give us free property taxes. There are set rules for Michigan, at least, how property taxes go up or down. So there wasn't going to be millions of dollars saved there in other comments such as that. So it was like an enticing fact about, money, which I don't think we would have ever seen. But again, with that being said, thank you for saving our community and our farmland. And I think it's really important, especially moving forward in this time of unsettled times in the world, that we need that farmland here in the United States more than ever. Thank you.
My name is George Jackson. I have one other comment. There's a lot of land available in the city of Detroit, a lot of vacant lots that can be purchased, and nobody would have any questions about putting up solar panels down there. Land that's not being used. And another thing is that the rooftops of all the industrial buildings, none of that's being used. All of these solar panels can be put up on top of rooftops of industrial buildings all over the state, all over the place. And that's an option that's not being entertained, and that wouldn't affect anything. So this would definitely affect everyone in this township and in ways that you haven't even thought of yet. Thank you.
Spell your name, Sam.
I'm sorry?
Spell your name.
Thank you for your job. It's hard. I can't imagine doing it. I interviewed farmers for the USDA. They're selling farms because of all the costs.
You need to be near the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Microphone.
I can see it.
You said they're selling their farms.
Yeah, a lot of farmers are selling or divided their farms. The USDA knows this. This is why they're setting up grants for townships, farmers, to develop other sources of energy. And I love it here, but I don't want to be without electricity. Thank you.
Mike Eckert. I want to thank the board for their decision, and I want to reiterate that renewable energy is not reliable energy, as we're seeing now that they're talking about Michigan having rolling blackouts because for every solar farm that they have, they're shutting down a gas-powered power plant. So I think reliability is better than renewability. Makes sense to me. So, thank you.
One small comment, Jeanette Phillips. Mr. Bissett, please smile. I will not bust your chops, no more. But I will be at meetings in the future. Thank you.
I just got one thing to say as a Goodland Township resident. I'm not sure who was on the board when you guys worked and put this through for our solar, so we had this opportunity to do this meeting, because there are some townships in this area, they have nothing. So people that were on the board at that time made this day to be available to us. So as a township resident, thank you very much for all you've done over the years.
What is your name?
John Monarch.
Oh, you're the one who said it. You were hiding. I thought it was a voice from God.
Well, I'm gonna say something. This hurts my heart in a lot of ways because I grew up here. I've worked for farmers here. I've watched them bleed. I've watched them bust their knuckles. I've watched them pretty much not be able to put gas in their truck or combines. It really pains me to make this decision, but I do 100% believe that it would affect the harmony in everything in this community to the point to where it would be ungodly. And that's the reason I chose the path I chose, in the size and everything. It really hurts me to make that decision, but at the end of the day, 30 years ago they pulled through it because farmers are resilient, always have been. That's just in their nature. That's what makes them farmers. They're tough old birds that just get things done. And I'm sorry if anybody thinks any more or any less of me about it, but it's very hard to come to these decisions. That's all I have.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the farmers were offered an opportunity to make some money to help make ends meet, and they pursued that opportunity, and I give them credit for that. Just based off of the rules we had to follow, really difficult decision, but that's why I have to say no.
Well, that's it for public comment. I would like to have a motion to adjourn. Can I get such a motion? All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.